All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on 6 SOAR capabilities MSSPs need to scale. We're really excited for the presentation today. We have a lot of great content. As you are obviously aware, the MSSP market is rapidly growing and evolving. And I think we're at a fantastic opportunity where SOAR can really provide the capabilities that MSSPs need to differentiate themselves in the competitive market, reach new audience segments, improve customer retention, and a number of other business capabilities. But I'll save the meat of the presentation for our speakers today. Before we begin, I do want to let everyone know that this session is being recorded and will be shared via email later today upon the conclusion of this session. And we will also be hosting a Q&A at the end of the presentation, so feel free to use the control panel at the bottom of your screen to ask those questions at any point in time. So joining us today, we have Dean Papa, who's the Global Vice President of Service Providers here at Simplify. And alongside Dean, we have Gal Shafir, who's the Global Director of Sales Engineering. Each of these individuals have over a decade of experience in cybersecurity. Dean's helped with the SOC strategy at Symantec, for example, a ton of experience specifically with the MSSP market, and Gal as well, technical expert if I've ever met one. So really excited to have these two gentlemen here today. And with that, I will just let them get right to it.
Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate everyone for joining. Mr. Dave Ellis, thanks for that note out of the gate. Makes me smile. So I will kind of frame this at a high level. I want to get into a little bit about who Simplify is, give you some backdrop on it, what we do, where we focus on, and then get into the industry, right? So Simplify, we really kind of came out of the SOC. This was developed as a SOC maturity platform to help automate mundane process so critical decisions could be made by key people. So as Gartner classified us into the SOAR category, which we feel, well, our focus is really to mature organizations. And by working in the MSSP community, by having full ingrained multi-tenancy, we're able to have a real strength in delivery through the service provider community to help mature the end customer. And that's really our goal, is to help empower the MSSP to mature the end customer. There's others out there that provide SOAR services. They're great organizations as well. Some focus on automation, some focus on integrations. Our core pillar is to really focus on that maturity stack. We have a very robust platform and business within the service provider space. So here's some of the logos that we have. We're seeing massive growth in the space as this technology really provides value. Next slide, sir. So with security operations, Gartner really kind of tries to guide us on what are the issues the enterprise is dealing with today, right? So lack of visibility, manual process hops, this alert fatigue, where you have to auto archive, things like that, getting analysts trained up. These are just some of the nuggets, but automation, get the next one. The real key to this is time, right? How does the MSSP manage time? You're managing multiple customers, some hundreds of customers in your space. How do you do that? One more time, Chris. The way we do that is we've enabled what we call Simplify Spectrum. This is our purpose-built MSSP platform that allows for the automations to let the MSSP deliver this service at more of a high fidelity. So instead of just focusing on delivering monitoring service, we're able to enhance that for you. We're able to deliver a cleaner UI experience for the end customer. All of these attributes are really designed to enhance the MSSP's delivery to the end customer. We're going to go through some of those benefits and triggers in this deck, but please, ask questions as we go through this process so we can kind of continue to keep the conversation flow in motion. So the way I kind of look at these challenges for the MSSPs is there's back-end bottom line challenges and top line challenges, right? They both are associated to revenue, but with bottom line, it's how do you maintain sustainable growth, reduce churn, right? Automate mundane process, right? Focus on the smart people doing key decisions within the gray, right? I know what's known bad, I know what's known good. I need my really smart people, my expensive people to focus on the stuff in the middle. And that's really where we see a lot of the pain within back end bottom line process. But the top line is also very relevant as well, right? So how do you deliver services that differentiate yourself from the other competitors getting into the space? How do you manage the different maturity levels and ecosystems of each customer so you don't have to do custom builds with every new customer that you add? And most importantly, how do you manage customer churn, right? Customer churn is significant because if you gain 15 customers in a year and you lose 3, that significantly affects your ARR and also the margin within the ARR. So Chris, what we see with that and with our platform is we provide a lot of these synergies for you. So on the bottom line, we're able to increase the margins within how the SOC operates with what we call operational efficiency. So backend operational efficiencies will be created, your MTTX gains, the metrics will be reduced significantly, and the delivery to your customers will be enhanced. That process in itself is very significant, but also, the manual labor process. So can we eliminate manual gaps to automate, right? Can we automate the validation cycle of your level 1 analyst so you don't need 6 level analysts per shift, you can have 1. And that way the automation can do that heavy lifting work and then get the risk assessed quickly and then get the analyst really hyper-focused on managing that risk in a timely fashion. Related to top line, we want to help you make more money. We want to help you make more margin, right? So increase your ARR and subscription, and then make that ARR rich in margin. How do you add new customers? How do you deliver new lines of business, right? How do you differentiate yourself? All of these things are really capable through the Simplify platform. And we're excited to kind of show you this as we go through. So,
all right.
Yep. Gal, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. And really just to complete whatever Dean just said about some of the business aspects, let's try to tie them into some of the technical aspects and see how the technical features and functions at the end of the day of a platform can be tied to the way that MSSPs do their business, which SOAR or SOC delivery is their core business, and how can a platform affect directly on their top line and bottom line revenues. So before jumping to some of the capabilities and features and functions, I think that we should just briefly agree on how SOAR works in general, and how does that even tie to MSSPs. So a SOAR flow is pretty simple, right? When you think of that, a SOAR is the middle platform, right? That kind of gets all the alerts, and the alerts can come from customers' remote SIM, or a cloud SIM, or a hosted SIM by the MSSPs, or all the above together. And alongside that, basically everything that generates an alert can feed those alerts into a SOAR. So what I see as a trend is actually some mid-market customers that want to have an MDR service by an MSSP, but on the other hand, they don't want to have a SIM, or they don't want to own a SIM if they don't have to because of regulation. We see SOAR actually being leveraged to push those alerts directly from an EDR to the SOAR platform, then do the correlation in the SOAR, then driving playbooks and automation to fix the problem, or to alert the right people, or to remediate, or to escalate, or to do whatever it is, and basically close it in front of the EDR. So if you're doing MDR service or NDR services, or even vulnerability management, you don't need to rely on a SIM. That being said, obviously, most of the market today is relying on a SIM, and really all the above are kind of getting the alerts, getting the information to your central SOAR, which is kind of like your SOC management platform. The second thing that is done is we get the alerts from those different sources, and then Simplify basically normalizes the data. I think the first one is pretty easy, right? And we'll talk about some integrations in a second. You get a lot of alerts. It's easy to onboard new customers because you don't want to be relying on a certain technology stack, and you want to be able to grow your service to more potential customers. The second thing is really the threat-centric and case management is how can a SOAR platform normalize the data and group the data. So first of all, it's more efficient, and an analyst would work on some sort of a second layer of correlation done by the SOAR. But also, once it's normalized, your analysts don't need to be experts on 20 different products because they speak the same language, and that's the simplified language. From then on, we got the playbook execution, and I think that's the known part, right? Automation that will go ahead and collect information, or conduct an operation like, hey, let's block this firewall port. And then, some of the last things are really, the investigation, response, analytics. We'll talk about collaboration. How can an MSSP actually collaborate better with their customer in a second? But generally speaking, for the very least, that's what every SOAR platform should be able to do. So capability number one, right? One of the most important things that I see in the market, especially for SOAR and especially for MSSPs, is first of all, vendor agnostic ecosystem. I think it's clear that one of the things that are important about SOAR, and Gartner mentioned that as well in their SOAR report, is that a SOAR platform, the main core of the SOAR platform is to be able to integrate with a lot of different products. And definitely a SOAR product that is independent and is not owned by a large company that competes with all your other products will continue to do a better job in building those integrations, in having those partnerships with those different vendors. And those are just a small amount of the logos of our technology partners that we're working very close with, not just to get their API, but to actually build out of the box playbooks and use cases and best practices based on how analysts should utilize their products through a SOAR. And so I think in the end of the day, one of the things that are important are not just to have a lot of integrations, but have those integrations built based on best practices and partnership. Especially as MSSPs, this is super important, because if today you're an MSSP that is only relying on one product for their MDR service, having a SOAR that supports them all out of the box, especially if it normalizes them, allows you to basically grow your customer base and grow your services to different customers who prefer different EDRs or different technology stacks, and not relying on the single EDR, single vendor, or single vulnerability management, being able to just deliver more services from the same platform.
Perfect. So as far as playbooks and proprietary playbooks, playbooks are playbooks when it comes to SOAR, but I think within the MSSP community, it's much different, because you have the expertise to be able to develop and create your own IP within playbooks and deliver this as a new line of service. And that's what we see a lot of. It's using the expertise that you already have within your organizations and playing that off within our playbook tool sets. The way we do this is different. It's very easy. You don't need to know code in order to do it. These are great feature sets, but the aspect of the playbook and delivering it through what you see as best of breed delivery is really what we focus on. So delivering these proprietary playbooks is key to differentiating yourself and how you scale out your services to market. But it's also, you can consider it a new line of business, a new service offering, managed SOAR as a service offering. All of these attributes continue to roll in. Crisis management. So if you're building IR retainer models, if you're doing incident response investigations, if you get an alert and that alert triggers an event, and that event is related to something that is ransomware related, and now you're within your customer's environments, how do you respond to that? So we've built this module called Command Center. What it does is it allows the analyst team to kick over the case directly into Command Center. Command Center now is a collaboration tool that allows you to communicate directly with your end customer if you're delivering retainer, emergency response, anything over incident response related from a crisis perspective. So you can invite your HR team, your legal team, whatever's required, and all of the communication flow is here. It's archived and recorded. So ease of use, provide value, and enhance is what we're really focusing on with crisis management. But within the MSSP community, as we know, when you sell these retainers, you have to show value to it. So we also give you the ability to run tabletop exercises off of those IR days. So we'll continue to expand and evolve this, but this is all about ease of use, transparency, and access, and enhancing the services you're delivering to provide more value to it. Number four is something that I love dearly. It's threat intelligence. So we all know the ability of threat intelligence is profound in that it allows the MSSP to utilize it in multiple use cases. So use case one is you're pulling logs from a specific customer environment. How do you know what to validate? And with threat intelligence, if you're looking at real-time intelligence compared to data feed intelligence, compared to open source intelligence, they all bring value in different ways, but the main difference between all three of those is just time, right? So is it timely for you to run validation? Yes, right? In order to validate and kill false positives and find true positives, you need to have access to this premium intelligence, real-time telemetry. But once you validate, now you can use open source to see what was done in the past or what's related to a specific campaign and use that to speed up your investigation lifecycle. So we see immense value in combining SOAR and TIP. Gartner gave us that guidance in that direction as well. We just happened to do an OEM agreement with Anomaly, who is the best in breed when it comes to TIP, and it meets to our focus and model and how we deliver that. The value with threat intelligence is profound when it comes to an MSSP because of the time it saves you in understanding what is a true positive, what is a false positive, and it shortens that window of gap in the middle on what's unknown. Boy, we're ripping through these things. Gal, why don't you knock this one out?
Yeah, sure. So I think that you know, this is actually a trend that we'll see more and more in the SOAR MSSP market as the years go by. But I think you know, service providers in general, MSSPs, is a thing that has been existing for a long time, way before SOAR was a thing. And I think that SOAR really kind of emerged and became relevant to a lot of MSSPs from around 2015, 2016. And more MSSPs are really getting into it and starting to think about playbooks and efficiency. One of the things that are just becoming relevant right now is when you think about SOAR joining an MSSP, there was already a company working around communicating between the MSSP and the customer, communicating between the analysts themselves. And so SOAR was really this automation piece, right? So MSSPs would have their own homegrown ticketing systems or portals where they would communicate with their customers and tell the customers what's going on. Or they would buy a third-party ticketing system and make it customer-facing or internal-facing. And the SOAR was just the automation piece connecting all those pieces together. What we're starting to see here, and I think that's going to be a major part of every SOAR platform and what we deliver here in this year, the next couple of years, is that we're trying to really enhance this ecosystem. So of course, a SOAR can talk with a third-party this ticketing system or generic ticketing system, and analysts can talk between themselves inside the SOAR platform, as it does have some ticketing capabilities. But what we're starting to see more and more is, first of all, some live chats, right? SOAR platforms should have a live chat, which is documented as part of the case. So the analyst will be able to talk about a case and it's documented. But even more important than that is, if you already have your main component that runs all your SOC operation internally, why not inviting your customer to that component, right? Why replicating all your data twice or 3 times to a third party or an external or a customer-facing portal or ticketing system if your SOAR can be that external portal or ticketing system, and you have the flexibility to choose what each customer can see from whatever type of case, and basically invite your customer to be able to log into your SOAR platform and collaborate with your analysts, of course, based on permissions and the licenses that you sell them. And I think that's a major part, being able to collaborate with your customers, inviting them to your SOAR platform. First of all, from an efficiency perspective, but second of all, that allows you to just be able to measure stuff and report on stuff and being able to deliver new services that are just not available today. For example, most MSSPs that we see today are trying to avoid remediation services because they don't want to take on the responsibility. But what if the customer would get a notification that a playbook is waiting for him to make a decision to block an IP or block a firewall port in their site, right? What if they can just go into the SOAR platform, click approve, which is being documented as part of the SOAR case, which will be later reported to the customer. So the customer is taking on the responsibility. The customer is able to make the right decision, talking or chatting or communicating with analysts through the SOAR platform. And it's all live and it's all being managed on the same platform. So the reports will be more enhanced. The data and dashboards and the cases, everything will just be in the same ecosystem, which is easier for management from the MSSP side. So that's definitely one of the things that we're seeing here.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, Gal. I think the beauty from an MSSP perspective, I spent 10 years at a large global MSSP. The most difficult task we always had to deal with was the lack of transparency we could provide the end customer. At Simplify, with what Gal just described, we're able to address that issue. So by addressing the lack of transparency, we absolutely affect red, yellow, green, and we're able to allow you to retain more customers. It's very important that this value is carried over and you see and understand that. Very important. Thanks, Gal.
Yep. And I think that really is the one that kind of wraps everything up, right? That's the glue that sticks everything together. Is, we've talked about case management and collaboration with customers. We talked about threat intelligence integration. We talked about crisis management and playbooks and a lot of different vendors and a lot of stuff going on in the same platform. And I think the power around that is because you now have a central platform that manages your customers and your analysts and your integrations and your processes and your playbooks and your case management, and it's all in the same platform, that allows us to be able to give you reports and dashboards that are not even relevant, that are not even able to create today in your SOC, and basically deliver services and deliver better reports and get more visibility to your customers instead of selling them a black box on the values that you're bringing. And that can be internal reports for the MSSP side or external reports shared with a customer using the multi-tenancy, of course. But I think the bottom line is that Simplify has integrated Tableau, which is one of the best BI tools out there, acquired by Salesforce for, I think, like $15 billion. Simplify is able to bring those reports, which are really not limited in the amount of data presented or the amount of trends that you want to see. And as long as you can describe it, we can basically make that happen because we do own and we have all the data of your SOC. And I think that's a major part that kind of is the bottom line for everything that we've seen here, is that you can now understand what's going on and not just get visibility on how many open alerts you have, right? I think that's maybe the table stakes for every SOAR platform, but really understand how are you improving and what should you concentrate on building next, and what are the trends that your customer are seeing, and where do you see more demand and where around the world, so you go with your salespeople and try to sell more of your services over there. And I think that really can affect not just the technical part and the security part, but also the sales part and the marketing part and really every part of your MSSP organization.
Perfect. So takeaways from what we see here is really the being vendor agnostic within a SOAR is key for an MSSP. The MSSPs are able to use this technology without having to have other pieces of technology being wrapped into it, right? This is a purpose-built function in acting in layer 7 that's really designed to help elevate your ecosystem, right? And we see a ton of value there. I think the agnostic ecosystem is profound in the integrations that we have, but also these are business alliance partners. Some of them are customers, so we're able to really expand it and drill down on that. The operationalized threat intelligence, I just can't stress that enough. It's we provide a function within TI to operationalize, right? But in order to make it actionable, I need an MSSP. I need a big brain in order to do it. So that relationship is very strong. But building these proprietary services, these patents that we have for case stacking allow for optimization on your FTX gains. The ability to collaborate, we've stressed this over and over again, that transparency view is really changing, and how the market changes, we're able to allow you to change with them. So no more functioning just on commodity and bridging the gap. We're able to really expand that visibility out through the end customer. the crisis management for incident response, and mapping into the life cycle and marrying it to NIST cybersecurity framework. And then that BI reports. Gal really did a great job of covering it, but from my perspective, coming from an MSSP, it is extremely powerful to have the ability to have reports developed in an automated fashion to deliver to your customers instead of having to manually build these processes. So the ROI on time saving alone is extremely valuable, but to be able to automate this through playbook creation and kick out these reports is profound. And we see it as something that is mandatory in allowing you to scale as you continue to add customers. And that's really what we wanted to focus on today, and really appreciate you guys coming on and joining.
Awesome. Thank you, Dean and Gall, for the presentation. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us so far. As mentioned, we're going to jump into a Q&A. While we're doing the Q&A, I did also want to quickly just include here that if you are interested in learning more about what was mentioned, if you want to talk to a SOAR expert, if you'd like a personalized demo, anything of that nature, you can go to simplify.co/talk-to-an-expert, and we'll help you out and explore further whatever you're interested in. And then you can also go to content.simplify.co/service providers and check out some of our MSSP specific content, white papers, other webinars, videos, etc. But jumping into the Q&A, the first question that we get all the time is our SOAR platform multi-tenant?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. Definitely 100% yes. Platform, especially if it's a platform that was designed for MSSP, has to be multi-tenant. The platform is multi-tenant from the core, meaning that you can have data segregation and assign different access permissions for different users in the platform, meaning that some analysts can see some customers, in some cases can be assigned to customers, and playbooks for customers, and integrations and dashboards and reports, and everything in the platform can really be per tenant. And that's also the thing that allows us to allow you to invite your customers into Simplify, and then every customer can see only their own data and only the parts in the platform that you as an MSSP want this customer to see based on whatever services you sold them. So absolutely yes.
Awesome. The next question, Gall, when you were talking about collaboration, you mentioned a live chat function within the platform. Does that mean that the MSSP's customers also need to buy Simplify, or are there like viewer only licenses? Like, how does that work?
Did you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. You said Gal, so I had to pause for a moment. Yes, so the way we've built out the platform on the back end in Simplify's core, we're able to benefit from the access of communicating down. Within the end customer side, we have multiple options, from a view access with Tableau integrated into it, to what we call our collaborator, which is going to change the industry and change the market. That's what we're about to launch. And Collaborator has that chat function in it. And then we offer another license called Full Analyst Workbench, which is the look and feel of SOAR, but it's a tenant off of the MSSP and controlled by it. That would give you co-branding. All of them will have chat function built in and the capability to communicate bidirectionally with the end client.
Thank you, Dean. This is a technical question, so this one is for Gall. Someone would like to know what our delivery model looks like and what our agent looks like.
All right, so delivery model is mainly SaaS. Simplify is a pure SaaS platform, cloud native, I must say, right? I know some vendors are saying SaaS and basically deploying a server in a cloud. Simplify is a pure cloud native platform that can scale, working on Kubernetes, and has a 24/7 NOC. And that's the main delivery model. That being said, we also have some customers that prefer to host it on their private cloud or on-prem. So we really support all of them. And then what was the next question, Chris? I'm sorry.
Both the delivery model and agent.
Right. The agent is an interesting piece. At the end of the day, when you're a SaaS or even an MSSP hosting it on-prem, for some deliveries, you want to be able to access your customer's remote and private network to be able to automate stuff on their network, right? For example, if your customer has their own Exchange and you want to send emails internally, or your customer has their own on-prem Active Directory or firewalls, and you want to be able to automate enrichment from their on-prem devices as well. And so the agents are basically kind of like remote proxies or reverse proxies, if you will. The agents can be installed. You just need one agent per network or per customer. So you don't need an agent like you do in an EDR for every endpoint. And that allows Simplify to extend the automation to your customer's remote site, right? And to be able to communicate with security products or enrichment products on your customer site without the requirement of managing tons of VPN connections between you as an MSSP and the customer. And that basically allows Simplify to very easily, by the way, it takes about 30 seconds to install an agent, but it allows Simplify to be able to collect data from your customer site, right? If your customer has their own on-prem SIM and they need their on-prem SIM because they're under regulation, and you as an MSSP need to collect alerts to your Simplify, you basically need to install this agent in 30 seconds and the data will start flowing into your Simplify. Everything is, of course, encrypted, and everything is only working with outgoing communication. And maybe that's a different conversation, but essentially the agents allow Simplify to extend the communication to remote sites for customers.
Thanks, Gal. Looks like we have one more two-part question that's come in so far. Someone would like to know, can an MSSP use SOAR without using a SIM? And will it be as effective as if it was a SOAR plus SIM model?
So the answer for the first one is yes. SOAR can 100% be used without a SIM. And like I mentioned in the beginning, SOAR integrations, and I'll talk specifically about Simplify. Simplify has a lot of integrations with a lot of tools, and most of those integrations actually allow Simplify to collect data from those products and collect alerts directly, right? Without even going through a SIM. So if you think of any EDR that you can imagine, or vulnerability management, or whatever basically generates alerts, we can actually ingest those alerts directly into Simplify without the need of going through a SIM. And we're actually seeing this happening with some MDR services, right? So instead of going through a SIM, why not just connect the customer's EDR, which is also cloud probably, to the cloud Simplify? Every new alert that this EDR raises will be just ingested to Simplify directly, and that will be correlated with other alerts by Simplify and trigger a playbook that will go ahead and go back to the threat intelligence and enrich the data and go back to the EDR and do some automated threat hunting. So yes, definitely seeing that. Will it be as effective as a SIM plus SOAR? Depends on the situation, right? Simplify is not a SIM. I have to mention that. If you need to collect every log from every endpoint and save it for the past 7 years so you can query every tiny syslog message, that's honestly something that SIMs are really good at, right? Collecting huge amounts of data and allowing you to query through them. That's not the case here. Simplify does allow you to ingest this data in, and mostly the alerts and the metadata, and then correlates them. I think that just two different use cases, and really depends on the customer.
Right. Yeah, Gal, great point. A SIM is always going to bring you value from compliance, but also value from enrichment. I think where the market is going with EDR, MDR, XDR, this powered by Simplify engine is a perfect use case no matter how you're going to market. We can allow agnostic MDR service, right, with whatever EDR is out there on the customer side. Same thing with the SIM, right? If you want a SIM on the back end to help with enrichment and compliance, great. If not, we're able to use our agent and grab that meta and run additional extensions outside of just the endpoint. So there's theory behind this. We're not Anton Chewbacca. I'm not saying eliminate the SIM out of the environment. I'm an advocate of a SIM. SIMs are difficult to use, and allowing an MSSP to scale fastly or quickly, our technology is built for that. But eliminate a SIM is really going to be based on each individual organization and how you're delivering those services. Great question.
Awesome. We got another question. It says, I work with MSPs and MSSPs in various stages, and something I routinely hear from them is we are not mature enough yet to bring in a SOAR solution. We need to document our processes better first, etc. When is the right time or stage to bring on a SOAR solution?
Well, what a great, we baited that one, Gal. That's a perfect one.
I love it. And Dean, feel free to complete me, but you know, this is a question that I get a lot, and I think it is a very good one. I'll just say this, right? Sometimes I talk to people and talk to customers, doesn't matter if they're MSSPs or not. And, you know, I talk about automation and I see people, you know, going crazy at it, right? Oh my God, I want to automate this and I want to automate that. And that's so cool. And usually what I say to those people is, you know, trying to automate a broken process will just allow you to break things faster. And I think that's you know, maybe a thing to think about, right? If you have all your Visio diagrams and you have all your processes documented, then digitalize them into a SOAR would be, you know, the legitimate thing to do. But actually, for this case that you just mentioned here, going down the SOAR path will actually force you to start thinking about your processes. Because you have a platform that allows you to build a very structured process called a playbook. And it allows you or even forces you to think around your processes in a very certain way. And I'll kind of split it into two. A SOAR will allow you to build those processes and think about your processes. But when you think of a SOAR, of simplify, I think that one of the answers would be a good SOAR tool should have a lot of out-of-the-box content. And I know that different MSSPs and different SOCs operate differently, and I respect that. But in a SOAR platform and in Simplify, we provide a lot of out-of-the-box use cases and playbooks and automations that we've built with our technology partners. And because we're partnered with every EDR vendor and every SIM vendor out there and every vulnerability management, et cetera, we already have this content out of the box, and then just fine tune it to your own use case is actually better. So I think that when should I go to the SOAR path? And maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I'll say as soon as possible, because it'll force you to go down that path. And it'll force you to think about your processes, and it'll even give you the content that you need to start and fast. And Dean, feel free to complete me on this.
Yeah, you know, I have to keep talking. It's my nature. I think great explanation on the how, right? The why is really a key pillar to what MSSPs are benefiting from and will provide the most value from in the industry. The key is always the enterprise, the end client. And the goal is to mature them to a point where they're able to deploy this technology and utilize it. What we've done is we've enabled the MSSPs to operationalize these SOAR tools and allow that quicker delivery of maturity for these end clients. So in the MSP use case, we're able to allow for a faster maturity track. The MSSP can provide that through vision, through assessment, through analysis, right? Through enrichment, through the process flow. And then as they mature, they're able to use the MSSP SOAR as that maturity model. So the answer, as Gal pointed out, is now, right? And that's our whole model, is by enabling the SOAR technology through the MSSP and utilizing it to push down to the end customer, you are building that maturity path as it goes. But we highly recommend assessment, right? Once you assess and determine the current state of that maturity, you mature that organization, and we use frameworks like Cybersecurity Framework. We map to MITRE to help us do this. The CIS critical controls are key pillars and domains that every organization, I feel, should be using to help mature your end customer. But then we're going to enhance that capability and service and then educate, right? And that's a constant ecosystem that's going to change, but it's always going to evolve. So this is our pillar. This is our vision. It's help mature the enterprise to stop the bad guys, right, from doing whatever they want. So work together to prevent adversaries from entering the environment. So great question. Thank you for that. Anything else, Chris? Anything else coming in on the wire?
We have one more question. How does SOAR help assess compliance like CIS, PCI, or NIST?
So again, I want to say that there's a few ways to do this, right? First of all, I'll differentiate SOAR from GRC. I will say that SOAR has integrations to GRC. And for example, one of the things that that I see is, for example, Dean mentioned before, command center and crisis management. Imagine that your SOAR can be assigned or maybe integrated to a GRC or to whatever database of regulations to be able to allow you to understand what to do next from a regulation perspective, right? But that's more on the integration side. Really, the second part of it is how can the SOAR allow you to work with those regulations and measure everything? And I think that really connects me back to the reports, is that some of those can be out of the box, but some of those can really be created to be able to measure stuff in your SOC based on the regulations that you have to comply with or your customers have to comply with, to be able to generate reports that are automated reports based on all of the data, right? So an analyst doesn't have to sit down to write a report around PCI compliance for all the credit card customers that you have as an MSSP. But really have those automated reports that can come out of the box or can be crafted, specifically for a regulation or for a customer, and just basically get the visibility of what's going on, what are the demands from this, and what do we need to comply with next.
Yep. I'd say we're actively building out in our roadmap assessment tools to give to the MSSP community to be able to assess not just compliance, but maturity. So I think as we do one, we do more. The beauty of SOAR, right, at layer 7 is it's focused now on security, right? IT automation is becoming more relevant. Now we add this as a use case. Now I can do IT automation. I can do governance and compliance. So it's a limitless technology that allows that communication to really flow clean. So I think what we can do today, reporting, right, what we can do tomorrow, build out assessment tools for you, and ongoing, continue to expand out these use cases to support as your business grows.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to wrap up the Q&A there. I really want to thank everyone again for joining us today. If you do have any other questions, again, you can feel free to go to simplify.co/talk to an expert, and we'll be happy to connect you with someone, again, answer your questions. We can offer a personalized demo, literally whatever it may be that you're interested in. That's what we're here for. So thank you again for taking the time out of your day. Again, this session was recorded. It will be shared out later this afternoon, and I will be emailing additional MSSP resources. So thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.